Hello friends, my name is Jess and welcome back to my channel, Books Past Bedtime. And today we're going to be talking about my summer anticipated book releases. So I have a list of 15 queer romance books that are coming out this summer in June, July, and August to share with you that I'm super excited for, very much anticipating, and so hopefully I can help you add some books to your summer TBR. So I believe that's really all the intro we need, so let's go ahead and hop into the list. So we are just going to go through these books in chronological order. So we're going to start with books coming out in June. And the first book I have on my list is A Bluestocking's Guide to Decadence by Jess Everly. This is going to be a WLW historical Regency romance. In it, we're following Jo and Emily. And Jo is in a lavender marriage, meaning her and her husband are not in love. And her husband's mistress ends up getting pregnant. And no self-respecting doctor will help her out. And so she finds Emily, who is a bluestocking working at a hospital in a nearby village, and she agrees to help Jo's husband's mistress, mostly because Jo is involved in asking and she forms a bit of a crush on Jo. So I think the two kind of come to be attracted to one another, but of course, how will they ever mesh as they're living two very different lives? But I do love me some queer historical romances. I have been really on a big Regency romance kick, especially since I just read A Lady for a Duke by Alexis Hall, which I loved. New favorite book of all time. That book is amazing. So this one is definitely on my radar, coming up in June. It comes out on June 4th. Another book coming out on June 4th is We Could Be Heroes by Philip Ellis, and this is a contemporary MLM romance. In this book, we're following Patrick and Will. Patrick is an actor and he has just gotten his breakout role in a superhero movie. Will, on the other hand, is a bookseller and a part-time drag queen, and the two kind of meet during a chance encounter and I think have like a one-night stand, but then decide to be friends, even though sparks seem to be flying between the two of them. But their worlds are quite different, and if they want to be together, they're gonna have to figure out how to make their world mesh and if it is worth it to do so. So this sounds super cute. I actually have an arc on this one. An arc of this one from NetGalley. I always love a contemporary queer romance as well. So this one sounds super cute and quite unique, and I love that one of the main characters is a drag queen. I don't read a lot of books involving drag, even though that's something I love in my regular outside of reading life. So I am definitely excited to check this one out and hope it lives up to my expectations. Next on my list is Pole Position by Rebecca J. Cafferty. This is an MLM contemporary romance where the two main characters are F1 drivers. I feel like F1 has become such a big thing recently. I am not like super into following F1, although I did read a One Direction fanfiction back in the day where they were all F1 drivers. I thought it was like the best thing ever. Like, I love that fanfiction still to this day. It's called Finish Line is a great place to start if you're looking for a Larry fanfiction to read. That one is really good. But yeah, that's what this book reminds me of, so I am like ultra super excited for this one. And to get into more detail, this book is following Kian and Harper. Kian is kind of the golden boy of the sport. He has been like on the top for the last 4 years. Harper is the new rookie on the team, and so the two are kind of directly competing, butting heads while they're doing team things. I don't know how Formula One works, to be honest with you, but obviously they fall in love. So kind of like rivals to lovers vibes going on as well in this one, and I'm super excited to read a book about Formula One. Like, I feel like it's going to have some similar vibes to like a sports romance, which I always love, but to have like a new sport, a new thing introduced, I think sounds super fun. And my roommate Gabby actually got an arc of this one and she is enjoying it as far as I know, so hopefully this will be a win for me as well. Oh, and that one comes out on June 6th, I believe. Next on my list is Director's Cut by Carolyn Greenwald. This book comes out on June 11th and is a WLW contemporary romance. In this book, we're following Val and Maeve. Val is 29 years old and has been in Hollywood for most of her career, but she's trying to make the transition from acting to directing, although it's not really going as planned. And so she decides to kind of cut Hollywood out of her life. She's done with it and decides to move to being a professor and being in academia full-time. And there she meets her coworker Maeve, and the two butt heads at first. They don't really get along, but sparks start to fly and they start to form a relationship. Then Val's movie that she directed starts taking off, so maybe she will go back to Hollywood. So she kind of starts getting pulled in all these different directions and has to decide where her true love lies and what she really wants to do with her life. So this kind of sounds almost like a quarter life crisis kind of book with some romance sprinkled in. And I know that Caroline Greenwald has some other sapphic books out that I haven't like gotten a chance to read yet. I've heard kind of mixed reviews, but I do think that this one sounds good, and I have an arc on NetGalley, so hopefully I will get to it soon and hopefully I will really enjoy it. Next on my list is a book that's come onto my radar fairly recently. I haven't heard a lot about it, but I kind of found it when I was doing research for this video and I thought it sounded really good. So it's called The Stars Too Fondly, and it's written by Emily Hamilton, and it also comes out on June 11th. And this is a sapphic sci-fi story. So in this story, we're following Cleo, and Cleo and her friends accidentally steal this spaceship. They really didn't mean to steal it, but they are trying to solve the mystery of the spaceship and what happened to the crew on it because they have all gone missing. And so they are hurtling through space and they're being bothered, I guess, by this hologram on board that takes the like shape, likeness, and voice of the ship's missing captain named Billy. Billy and Cleo kind of start to have like some kind of romance relationship thing, which I think is super interesting because I do love like an AI type of thing. Like in a sci-fi book, I love when the AI is sentient, but it's also like a real person that it's based off of. So it'll be interesting if the romance continues into being with the real person. I'm really interested in that. I actually didn't even realize that until I just reread the description, but I think it's basically kind of like a space heist mystery with this romance and sentient AI element. So these are all promising things, all things I love. This is an adult novel as well. All of the characters in it are in their mid-20s, which I also like. I actually don't have any YA on this list. I haven't really been into reading YA recently, so I have kind of been not really like avoiding it, just not drawn to it. So this list is fully adult, but I do think this book sounds super interesting, and I definitely want to add it to my TBR, and hopefully I'll get to it this summer because I think it sounds so good. Another book I think sounds so good, like every book on this list, but that is Running Close to the Wind by Alexandra Rowland. Alexandra Rowland is the author of A Tale of Gold and Iron, I think it's called, which I haven't read yet, but I'm planning to read really soon. But she is like a queer romance author as far as I can tell, and this is her newest release and it sounds super good. I believe it is an MLM romance, and I believe it involves pirates, and I think it's kind of like a historical fantasy setting. So it kind of sounds like our main character Avra is kind of like a spy. He worked for the Ministry of Intelligence and he accidentally stole the single most expensive secret in the world. What that secret is, I'm not sure, but in order to avoid pursuit, he decides to go with that secret and hide with that secret out in the open sea. So he becomes kind of like a pirate, meets the crew on the ship, and one of the crew, their name is Julian, and they have a romance, is the vibe that I'm getting. The description isn't super descriptive, but that's what I'm getting from it, and I think it sounds really good, and I really don't need much more than that. I like to kind of go into a fantasy novel and kind of figure out what's going on along the way. But like gay pirates romance, that's all I really need. So this one sounds like it'll be a win for me, and it is also coming out on June 11th. Next on my list is Hot Summer by Elle Everhart, and this book comes out on June 27th and is a sapphic contemporary romance. This book is also set on a reality TV show, which honestly, like, it wouldn't be my first thing that I would think, oh, I love books like set on TV shows, reality TV shows, but historically the books that I do read that are set on TV shows I have ended up loving. So like maybe it is one of my things. This one sounds really good and hopefully will also be my thing. So basically our main character Cass has spent her whole life watching this TV show called Hot Summer, and I think it's basically based on like Love Island or the Netflix shows like Too Hot to Handle, or you know, those shows. Like I think that's what it is. It's probably most likely based on Love Island because I think that's the biggest one. I've not watched any of these shows because they're not really my thing, but reading about them might be. So Cass is picked to be a contestant on the show. She is ready to spend the summer like winning the show, but instead her entire plan goes off course as she is instantly smitten with her fellow competitor Ada. And so Cass has to decide if she wants to pursue her feelings for Ada or if she wants to actually try and win this TV show. For some reason those two things don't go together. I don't know the concept of the TV show, but this sounds really fun and like a really like quick, easy, beachy summer read. So I definitely want to keep this one on my radar and plan to pick it up when it comes out at the end of June. Next on my list is Bury Your Gaze by Chuck Tingle. This book comes out on July 9th. Chuck Tingle's been on my radar for quite a while, although I don't believe I've read any of his books yet, but this one sounds really good. It's kind of unlike all the rest of the books on this list, but I think that's mostly because there's not a lot of people out there writing queer horror, and I am kind of interested in it as a concept, but I'm not super like enmeshed in the genre, so these are just kind of the ones that are most popular and visible, I guess, but I don't know what I'm talking about, but this one does sound really good. So we are following our main character Misha, who is a screenwriter, and he's kind of becoming jaded by Hollywood, especially during his latest project when the director asks him to kill off one of the gay characters, because that's just what you do in Hollywood. You kill your gays, you bury your gays. And I think that this decision kind of comes to haunt him, as well as past decisions, and he has to figure out what's right and what's wrong. And I think there's also other horror and suspense elements, although I'm not quite sure what they are, which I think is kind of the point. You're supposed to go in there and be surprised by the twists, but I definitely am super interested in this book and think it sounds really cool, as do all of the rest of Chuck Tingle's books, especially Camp Damascus. I have that one on my TBR, and hopefully I will get to that one soon. So yeah. Next on my list is The Duke at Hazard by KJ Charles. I have been reading a lot of KJ Charles the past year and a half and really have come to love them as an author. I think they're so talented at writing queer historical romance, and I can't wait for their newest release, which comes out on July 18th. And this is an MLM Regency historical romance. Like I said, I'm super interested in historical romances right now. Part of that is due to KJ Charles. In this book, we're following the Duke of Severn, and the Duke of Severn has unfortunately lost a family heirloom ring, and in order to get it back, he decides to go undercover without his name and title to try and find this ring incognito. It was robbed from his hand. He didn't just lose it. And life as an ordinary person is pretty terrifying for him until Dazel, who is a disgraced gentleman who he hires to help him find this ring, and they kind of race across the countryside together to find this ring and end up falling in love, getting into some trouble, things like that. But now that the Duke has fallen in love with this common man, how are they going to navigate that in the society and the world that they live in? That's kind of a typical shtick of a KJ Charles book, but it hasn't failed me yet. So I definitely think that this one will be a success, and I'm looking forward to it. And possibly the magnum opus of this list is The Pairing by Casey McQuiston. This book comes out on August 6th. My birthday is August 8th. They're doing it just for me, obviously. In this book, we're following Theo and Kit, who were childhood best friends, crushes, in love, and now they are exes. Now, 4 years later, they have been estranged and not spoken to each other, but they realize that they have booked the same European tour. And so in order to prove that they are totally over one another, they start this hookup bet, except they are not totally over each other, and they're gonna fall in love again. And so this sounds super cute, set over a European tour with tons of food and wine culture, which sounds like the perfect setting for a Casey McQuiston romance. I'm super excited to finally have a new Casey McQuiston book in hand. It's been way too long. I think it's been 2 years or something. So I am super excited for this one and hope it lives up to everything I expect of it. It's definitely been a while since we've gotten an adult romance from Casey, as the last book they published was YA, and I don't know, didn't hit as well as Red, White, and Royal Blue and Will Not Stop, which I both love. So hopefully The Pairing lives up to both of those. I can't imagine it won't. I'm so excited for this book. Another exciting release coming out on August 15th is Not for the Faint of Heart by Lex Croucher. I've read 2 books by Lex Croucher so far, and they have both been magnificent. I love them, so I'm super excited for this newest release. And this one sounds like it's kind of in line with Gwen and Art Are Not in Love, which I read earlier this year and I really enjoyed. So this is going to be, oh, I lied earlier when I said there's no YA on this list. This is the one YA on this list, and it's only because I have read and loved Lex Croucher's other YA books, so I do want to read this one. This is basically a sapphic retelling of Robin Hood, and so this just sounds like a super fun historical retelling of Robin Hood rom-com, and I'm very excited to get to it. Like I said, I trust Lex Croucher full-heartedly, so I definitely think that I will enjoy this one. Next on my list is You're the Problem, It's You by Emma Albin. This is the second book in the Mischief and Matchmaking series. The first was Don't Want You Like a Best Friend, which I haven't read yet. It's sapphic Regency romance. I need to read it. It's definitely on the list. It's coming, but haven't read that one yet, so I'll have to read that one before this one. But this one also comes out on August 15th, so it's coming up, and I'm very excited for this one. This one is an MLM Regency romance and is also enemies to lovers, which I love. In this book, we're following Bobby and James, who are being pushed together by their cousins Beth and Gwen, who I think are the characters from the first book, but they hate one another. James has just become a Viscount town, and Bobby is a second son with a desire to prove himself, and the two just really clash. Their personalities are opposite, they do not like one another. An extortionist starts threatening their families and their families' reputations. They have to learn to work together without tearing one another's heads off, and I think once they start to spend more time cooperating with one another, it leads to romance and the such. So I'm super excited for this book. I love that the series is inspired by Taylor Swift lyrics, and there's just like, what better thing in the world is there than queer historical romances based on Taylor Swift lyrics? I cannot think of a single thing better than that. Yeah, I need to get to these very soon. Next, I want to talk about Confounding Oaths by Alexis Hall. This is the second book in the Mortal Follies series. I think they might just be companion books with the same narrator, but different unrelated characters. And this book comes out on August 27th. To be fair, I didn't love the first one in this series, but I definitely want to give it another chance because Alexis Hall mostly never lets me down, and this one does sound really good. I think I just like had a little bit of trouble with one of the characters in the first book. With a full new set of characters, like I think it'll be good. Like the writing and the plot and stuff was still good. I just, you know, I think it was a Pride and Prejudice retelling, and the Darcy character was just a little too mean for me, which was my problem with the first book, but hopefully the second book will be better and that won't be an issue. The concept of this series is that it's Regency but also fantasy, and this one is going to be an MLM romance, and so it's between Mr. John Caesar and Captain James, who have to work together to find John's sister Mary after she gets kidnapped, and they fall in love along the way, but of course come from different worlds. How will they ever be together, etc., etc. It's basically the same plot of every queer historical fiction, but that's okay because I eat it up every time, and this one will probably be no different. Another book coming out on the 27th of August is Hers for the Weekend by Helena Greer. This one honestly has kind of low ratings, but I feel like Helena Greer's books always do, and I usually end up liking them, so I'm planning to read this one, and it sounds really cute. It is a sapphic contemporary romance. I think it's fake dating. Is that real? Yeah. So Tara has been invited to her ex's wedding. In order to not seem like she's pathetic or not over her ex, she says she's going to bring her new girlfriend. Problem is she doesn't actually have a new girlfriend, and so Holly, the waitress that Tara has been crushing on, offers to be her fake date to the wedding, and so Tara accepts, and it turns out that Holly has also been crushing on Tara, but the two kind of have different ideas of what they want life to be. Tara is kind of like ready to settle down. She's got a nice job, whereas Holly really wants to get out and travel a lot, so they're not sure that they can actually make a relationship work if they want things that are too different. As they fake their relationship, it starts to feel realer and realer, as it always does, and so they have to decide what the future is going to look like for them. This book sounds super cute. I'm very excited to get into it, and I can't wait to read it. And last but not least, this book comes out as well on August 27th, and that is I'll Have What He's Having by Adib Khorram. I have read books by this author in the past, although they have all been YA, but I will say they're a very good writer. I love his books. I think they are excellent, and so I was super excited that he is releasing a adult romance. This is MLM and contemporary. This book follows Farzan and David. Farzan is drowning his sorrows at a wine bar when he's leaded to a VIP table for one, and the hot sommelier starts flirting with him. And the problem is that David thinks Farzan is a like wine critic, restaurant critic, and the truth of the mix-up comes out after a hot night together, but they both think it's just kind of funny, but agree that they're better off as friends because David is studying to become a master sommelier and does not have time for a relationship. But then their paths cross again as Farzan's family inherits a bistro and he needs David's help and restaurant advice, and so they start spending more time together and realize that they really are a perfect match for one another. So I think this book sounds super cute, and like I said, I'm so excited to see that this author is coming out with an adult queer romance, and I think that it'll be a hit because I already know I love his writing. So that was my list of the top 15 queer romance books that are coming out over the next 3 months this summer, June, July, and August, that I am most excited for. I will leave links to all the books I mentioned in the description down below. Just for full disclosure, these are affiliate links, which means I will earn a tiny commission if you buy through my link. It's a great way to help support the channel at no extra cost to you, but of course it is totally completely optional, just there for your convenience. If you want a free way to support my channel, you can subscribe if you're not already. Also like this video, leave me a comment down below letting me know which books coming out this summer you're most excited for, or really anything at all. I love chatting with you. You can also follow me on social media. Those links are in the description below as well. And I believe that is everything I have to say. So thank you so much for watching this video and for being here. I really appreciate you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.